Did you know that some everyday habits were once treated like death sentences? Imagine brushing your teeth, sneezing, or wearing the wrong kind of shoes and boom, congratulations, you're basically a criminal in history's eyes. The past wasn't just strange, it was practically allergic to logic. In this video, I'm going to take you through 8 history lies, myths, misconceptions, and flat-out fabrications that rewired how we see the past. From kings who never existed to truths that were more propaganda than reality, you'll see just how fragile our historical memory really is. And trust me, once you spot the lies, you'll never read a history book the same way again. Let's begin the countdown. Number 8. The Flat Earth Fantasy. If you think medieval people walked around terrified of falling off the edge of the earth, congratulations, you've been lied to by your high school textbook. The flat earth belief is one of history's greatest PR stunts. In reality, educated folks in Europe had known the earth was round since the ancient Greeks. Sailors weren't staring at the horizon thinking, "Don't fall off, Greg," they understood the curve. So where did the myth come from? Blame 19th century writers who wanted to paint the Middle Ages as a 1,000-year stupidity nap. It made modern science look like the heroic savior that rescued humanity from ignorance. In short, it wasn't history, it was marketing. The funny part, even now, with satellites literally taking selfies of Earth, flat earthers have staged a comeback, which means we've gone full circle literally and metaphorically. Number 7. Napoleon was short. Picture this, a tiny man in a big hat, standing on a stool, yelling at his soldiers. That's Napoleon Bonaparte, as most people imagine him, a pint-sized dictator with a tall man's ego. The problem? It's complete nonsense. Napoleon wasn't unusually short. He was about 5 feet 6 inches or 5 feet 7, perfectly average for his time. So why the short guy with attitude myth? British propaganda. They were at war with France, and making Napoleon look small made him seem less threatening. A kind of height-based psychological warfare. Over time, the lie became so sticky that it created an entire cultural term, the Napoleon complex, used to mock short men with big ambitions. Ironically, Napoleon didn't suffer from it, but millions of guys at the gym still do. History really is the gift that keeps on trolling. Number 6. The Witch-Burning Epidemic. Close your eyes and picture medieval Europe. Pitchfork mobs, women tied to stakes, flames licking the night sky. Hollywood made it look like half the continent was busy roasting witches like marshmallows. Reality check. Most of that image is flat-out exaggerated. Yes, witch trials happened, yes, people were executed. But the infamous burning epidemic wasn't as universal or medieval as you think. Many of the big witch hunts actually took off later during the Renaissance and early modern periods, when superstition, politics, and the printing press made hysteria go viral. By the way, some witches were hanged, drowned, or tortured, not just burned. History's PR team really narrowed the options for dramatic effect. Number 5. Vikings wore horned helmets. You've seen them, burly warriors, long beards, axes swinging, helmets with dramatic horns. It's the official Halloween costume of generic Viking. One tiny issue, actual Vikings never wore horned helmets. Not for battle, not for fashion, not even ironically. The horned look was invented in the 19th century, courtesy of opera costume designers who wanted their Norse villains to look extra intimidating. Wagner's operas, in particular, made horned Viking chic the cultural default. From there, pop culture latched on, and suddenly history books were filled with cosplay instead of archaeology. Real Viking helmets were practical, made of iron, and surprise not designed to double as bull impersonations. Archaeologists have dug up plenty of Viking gear, and not a single battle helmet with horns has turned up. But try convincing someone who just bought a plastic party helmet for Oktoberfest. Number 4. George Washington's wooden teeth. Ask anyone about George Washington's smile, and they'll tell you it was basically a picket fence made of oak. Wooden teeth have been a schoolyard legend for centuries. But here's the rotten truth. The first US president never chewed on timber. His dentures were made from a horrifying cocktail of ivory, lead, gold, and brace yourself human teeth, often yanked from the mouths of slaves or bought from the desperate poor. So why the wood rumor? The ivory teeth stained and cracked, making them look grainy, like, well, wood. From a distance, Washington's grin resembled a piece of old furniture. The myth stuck because it was easier and less uncomfortable than admitting the founding fathers' perfect smile was built on exploitation. Number 3. Marie Antoinette said, "Let them eat cake." The image is irresistible. A pampered queen, hearing that her people are starving, smirking as she declares, "Let them eat cake." It's the ultimate symbol of aristocratic cruelty, except she never said it. The quote had been floating around for decades before Marie Antoinette even married into French royalty. It originally came from philosophers mocking out of touch nobles in general, not her in particular. But when revolution came knocking, pinning the line on her was too juicy to resist. It made her the poster child of elite indifference, even if it was a complete fabrication. The irony, by most accounts, Marie wasn't especially cruel. Naive, yes. Bad with money, absolutely. But she didn't sit around cackling at starving peasants. History just needed a villain with better hair and a killer wardrobe. Number 2. Columbus proved the earth was round. If your teacher ever told you Christopher Columbus bravely sailed west to prove the earth wasn't flat, congratulations, you've been served reheated propaganda. By 1492, educated Europeans already knew the earth was round. The Greeks had calculated its circumference centuries earlier, using shadows and sticks. Columbus wasn't fighting flat earthers, he was fighting math. See, Columbus massively underestimated how big the earth was. He thought Asia was just a quick trip west. Lucky for him, the Americas were in the way, or else his crew would have starved chasing the wrong continent. In other words, he wasn't a genius, he was a terrible geographer who accidentally got famous. But schoolbooks turned him into a visionary hero, a man who shattered ignorance with courage. It's a cleaner story than lucky guy who miscalculated and stumbled into genocide. Number 1. The Dark Ages were actually dark. Say the phrase Dark Ages and you picture dirty peasants, tortured castles, and everyone forgetting how to read. It's the ultimate before the Renaissance insult. 1,000 years of nothing. But the so-called Dark Ages weren't nearly as dim as the name suggests. Sure, Rome collapsed, but Europe didn't hit pause. Agriculture advanced, universities were born, cathedrals soared into the sky, and science simmered quietly in monasteries. Meanwhile, in the Islamic world, scholars were inventing algebra, preserving Greek philosophy, and mapping the stars. The Dark Ages label was slapped on later by Renaissance thinkers who wanted to make their own era look shinier by comparison. It stuck because we love drama. Moderately productive centuries doesn't have the same cinematic flair. But truth be told, the Middle Ages weren't a blackout, they were a dimmer switch slowly cranking back up. So there you have it, 8 history lies that rewired how we see the past. From flat earth fantasies to horned Viking cosplay, from cake that was never eaten to darkness that wasn't all that dark, history is less a dusty textbook and more a game of broken telephone played across centuries. The real lesson: safety doesn't come from stability, it comes from adaptability. Question the myths, poke holes in the legends, and laugh at the propaganda. Because the past isn't dead, it's just badly remembered. And if you enjoyed this dive into history's greatest fibs, hit that subscribe button. That way you won't miss the next story, where we peel back another layer of lies, myths, and human weirdness. That's all for today. I'll make more videos like this in the future. Stay tuned.